Am I doing good? Is this good? Okay, all right. So my Halloween is off to a pretty strange start. One minute, me and my cattle buddies are hanging out, grazing in the pasture. Huge beam of light drops down from the sky. Next thing we know, we're all on board what seems to be some sort of alien spaceship. Before they let me out of here, they want me to tell them everything I know about horror filmmaking techniques. Oddly specific, right? But I suppose if I want to make it back to Earth tonight for trick-or-treating, I'm going to have to comply. So we're gonna be trying out 4 different types of shots today, all of which I really think have like a special place in horror filmmaking. So starting out with number 1, the Split-Diopter. Split-Diopters are really neat. So a regular old diopter is just like a name for like a magnifying element to get a lens to focus closer than it can without one. So what does a split diopter do? Well, it's really neat. It's a diopter, but exactly half of one, split right down the middle. One half the filter is totally clear and the other is such and such magnification of diopter. So say you are working with a shot with something in the foreground and in the background, traditionally you're only going to be able to get one of those areas in focus at a time. That's why when you use a split diopter like this to achieve both foreground and background to be in focus at the same time, it can be really jarring. It kind of makes your brain work like extra hard for a second. I think a split diopter shot can be really, really cool if motivated properly, like in the scene, but most of the time, in my opinion, it comes off as kind of kitschy. But if a tacky shot has a warm welcome to home in anywhere in cinema, it's definitely in horror. Essential horror shot number 2, the Vertigo Shot, or the Zolly. But let's call it a Vertigo Shot today because the video is about horror movies after all. Although a Zolly kind of describes what it is a little bit better in the name, a zoom dolly or a dolly zoom. If you do this just right and aim to keep your subject the same size it is in the frame, you get this really neat effect where the size and the field of view of the background changes, but the subject seemingly does not. So I used a cine slider for this one, which I way recommend if you are trying this out because pulling off a Vertigo shot is challenging enough as is. It's meant to be visually intense, and on the psychological level, it's a really neat way to show that a character is in distress or maybe even having a major realization. Okay, moving on to shot number 3, even though we're actually going to be talking about like separate shots underneath this definition, but that would be the POV or reverse POV. Again, a type of shot that I think almost exclusively belongs in horror. So a regular POV is one thing, that's a point of view, that's literal perspective of what that person is seeing. The next couple of POV shots that I'm talking about are like fixed, rigid POVs, which is where this awesome device comes into play, the Snorricam. The twist with the Snorricam, it sturdily rigs that camera coming from the character's torso by use of this vest right here, allowing the character to move around freely, walk, run, move their arms, more or less gives the viewer the perspective of that person. Add some creepy effects and like vignetting on that POV shot and boom, horror. Now B, the second use, the reverse POV. Same thing basically, but obviously reversed on the subject. Still rigidly attached though. Now we have like a locked on, head on, basically like a fixed reaction shot. This is obviously awesome for getting their dialogue, shifting eye lines, just emotions, reactions. But in a horror application, this could be a really awesome way to show a chase scene and get the audience enveloped in an intense moment like a chase. And C, the third really cool application for the Snorricam that we didn't really experiment too much on the ship here today, but that would be an over-the-shoulder shot. I think the ideal way to do something like that would be somehow get the camera like off-center either to the left or the right to really help with that perspective of like actually looking over someone's shoulder. All right, y'all, now the fourth and final quintessential horror shot I wanted to share with you all today, the Dutch angle. Kind of a film 101 thing, but it's very important nonetheless. The Dutch angle basically just describes any shot that's noticeably tilted off axis. I hear the rule of thumb is like at least 15 degrees off center. And you can just like cut to a Dutch shot as is. But today, since like my freedom is in jeopardy, I wanted to put a little extra spin on it, see if I could really impress these guys. So I think it would be really cool to start a shot off normal and then go Dutch, simulate someone sort of like scared, just like peeking out of a doorway like that. I think that would be really neat. All right, y'all, I think I'm starting to smell some steaks. I could just tell that like the morale on this ship is looking up, because like that that was all of the horror shots I had to share with them, and they weren't even like really interested at all. So I guess if you have any questions about any of these shots or techniques we talked about in this video, you know what to do. Drop a comment in the comment section below and we'll start a discussion. I think our alien overlords are appeased and they're finally gonna let me go. Stay tuned next week for some more out of this world content, and we'll see you in the next one. Okay, I'm ready.